Thank you, Senator Martin. We will go on to Senator Bauer, then Senator Boisvenu, and Senator Keating. Senator Boyer, sorry, Senator.
Thank you, Chair. My question is for Mr. Galley, and it has to do with Indigenous people and suicide. So we know that many Indigenous people commit suicide or contemplate suicide because of the ongoing challenges relating to socioeconomic inequalities, intergenerational colonial trauma, and a lack of access to mental health services. In fact, suicide rates among First Nations, Métis, and Inuit are significantly higher than among non-Indigenous peoples. For Métis, the rate is 2 times higher. First Nations, the rate is 3 times higher. And for the Inuit, the rate is nearly 9 times higher. Because Bill C-7 repeals the reasonably foreseeable death clause, could the same factors that lead to a higher suicide rate among Indigenous populations also contribute to an increase in Indigenous people seeking access to MAID?
I think our attention on this issue has really been focused on the question of inclusion for mental health reasons. So insofar as mental illness is excluded from C7, I would say no. On the other hand, if you're suggesting that Indigenous people who live with disabilities that might be eligible under the law, as irreversible and irremediable conditions, might they be more likely than non-Indigenous Canadians with the same condition to seek MAID because of a lack of access to services? It certainly seems plausible, but I wouldn't say that I have an expert opinion on that, or that CMHA has an expert opinion on that. It's definitely true that Indigenous mental health is of great concern to us. I think the complexity or the nuance with your question would be, will that difference in that inequity and the colonial trauma and the results of systemic racism result in people applying for MAID on the basis of mental illness? I mean, they're not eligible for MAID on the basis of mental illness under the law. So in theory, no. However, if it's comorbid with other conditions that might be eligible, and you have a particular segment of the population, such as Indigenous people in Canada, who already struggle to access appropriate supports in healthcare, it's definitely an issue that ought to be considered.
Thank you, and especially in mental health care. Thank you very much for your answer.
Thank you, Senator Boyer.